Well, hello and good morning, everybody. I am David, your tropical shirt wearing, sloppy shirt wearing host for the day on this live stream. Woo! It is Wednesday. It is November the 1st, and it is cold in the United States. Currently, here where we live in the wonderful southern central part of the United States, it is currently 26 degrees outside. That's right, 26 degrees. It is the 1st of November. It is going to be a very exciting month, hopefully, for everybody, I hope. Um, we having some interesting weather in the United States already, which is great. Let's give a little shout out to Finn. I appreciate you guys being here. I know it has to be cold and maybe even snowy where you're at. So, for our friends hanging out in another country, we've already had snow. So this is one of the most exciting times of the year. In any year, every year, the most exciting time of the year. Not Christmas, not Easter, not Halloween, which we just had last night, which I'll tell you a little bit about Halloween later. Not Valentine's Day, not your wedding, not the birth of your children, nothing like that. The most exciting day of the year, time of the year, is the very, very, very first snowfall happens. You have to admit it. You get so excited, so consumed with, oh my God, is it snowing? How much is it going to snow? Is it going to stick? How long will it be here? In the South, we first thing we think of is, oh my God, do the kids got to stay home? And we have to put up with them at home. Meaning, do we got to go to Walmart and buy all the bread and milk there is in the entire store just because it snowed a tiny bit and the roads may be slick for an hour? And they cancel all the schools in the South. That's what we do here in the South. Up north, different situation. You guys just go, whatever. It snowed. But it is, for most people, the most exciting time of the year, that very, very first snow. We have some people that this be their first winter here in the United States, and we have one that's up north in Chicago, and that person is absolutely giddy to death about the possibility of winter snow and it coming. So this today, I think, let me look at my map. It looks like maybe Utah, Idaho, Colorado got some snow. I think maybe even Pennsylvania or Indiana. Let's see. The Upper Peninsula by Lake Michigan and some places like that. Maybe Albany got a little snow uh, for Friday. That's today. So maybe they're getting some snow through there. Snow right now looks like Illinois, yeah, Chicago maybe is what this map is forecasting for today. So I'm not for sure how accurate it is. But we have friends that this is going to be their first snow. Now, what I told them is this. Yes, you're going to love, and I mean love your snowfall. You're going to love it. Love it, love it, and love it. And then you're going to get sick of it, sick of it, sick of it. you know, and here, let me pin our little link in here for anybody who wants to join us in the panel today. So I told him, I said, yeah, you know, if you've been in America forever, like a lot of us who live here, even the first snow is not that exciting. Because we know it's pretty, the kids get to play in it once, it's fun to drive in once or twice, but after that, it just becomes a pain in the butt. So we don't get too excited about it. I mean, but if you're new to the community, to the world, to the United States, to Canada, wherever, then the first snowfall is truly a magical thing. Especially think about this. If you're coming from a tropical country where there is no snow, where you only have seen it on television, where you only heard about it, right? Anyfin says he's working and lurking as always. Appreciate that. Did you get snow, Anyfin? So you got to think about it from this. Us as who are used to it. I can't stand the snow anymore. I mean, I would be happy never to see snow again in my life. But as I said, we got some friends, and this is their first year here. This is we got one in Chicago right now is getting snow. So Anyfin says no snow for them yet. Yet is the key word. And she's going to be completely excited. You know, the girl, my wife, I'll tell you, Lorelai, when she first got to America, God bless her, uh, she still does this. And she's been here about 10 years. So I'll give you a couple of examples, which I think is really funny. The first winter she was here, she had to build a snowman. And I think I got pictures of it somewhere. We're out there trying to make a snowman out. We had a light snow, so it wasn't real deep and heavy, maybe just a couple of inches, which is pretty good for this part of the country. But her snowman had so much, it was the first one, had so much dead grass and leaves in it from the fall that it was kind of like a hairy, abominable, dirty snowman type guy. So that was her. She did snow angels in the snow. So she loved her very first snow. Yes, Anyfin, that's the problem, man. You gotta love the way the snow looks, the way it feels, but winter drags on and on and on and on. You know what I don't like about the snow, especially being in the southern states, is how everybody panics. They got to run to Walmart and buy every box of cereal, loaf of bread, even the crappy bread, eggs, milk, because they think, and they should know by now, even, especially in the South, if it snows, it's going to warm up tomorrow. But they go and panic because the kids have to stay home, and oh my God, we got to feed the kids. And we don't have enough food to feed the kids for one day. We got to get 20 boxes of cereal and 18 gallons of milk. And it just drives me crazy. And the reality is, I need to find that article. I read an article a few years ago that talked about most people could survive 2 weeks on just what's in their refrigerator and their pantries and never have to go to the store. They can survive on the food in their refrigerator and pantry for 2 weeks. So that's what drives me a little bit crazy here in the South. But when I taught college, I loved it because anytime it snowed and the school shut down, we still got paid and got to go home. So it was great. I'd go trout fishing sometimes. I go, it's snowing. All right, I'll just run up to the dam and go trout fishing. But now that I'm old, I don't do that as much. But snow. So she's all excited about the first snow coming. She's got to buy a big fancy winter jacket, We bought, when my wife got here, she loved, maybe this is it. She spent a lot of time shopping for winter clothes and pretty hats and, and boots. So she was able to build her wardrobe full of winter clothes. So then a couple years ago, Lorelai, my wife, she, there's a video on our YouTube channel about this one, about a Filipino building a snowman. But we had a really big snow, which is rare for here. This was like 22 or 24 inches. It was a really heavy snow for this part of the country. And we had temperatures way down into single digits for a week. So it stayed. Very rare. But it's snowing like a blizzard for Arkansas. Lorelai gets all dressed up and she goes out there and wants to build a snowman. And she's working on building her snowman. And And the dogs are out front with our little wiener dogs who the snow is deeper than the dogs. You see them hopping around like rabbits, poor things. About to freeze their bellies off and die out there. But Lorelai's out there building this big snowman because it's her first time and chance to really have big, heavy snow. And and she's trying to beg me to come outside and help her build the snowman. And I got the window open in my office looking out over the front where she's at. And I'm standing there talking to her with the window open. And I'm drinking hot cocoa, telling her, you go, yeah, you. Me, no. Me, stay here where it's warm. It's only logical. So once you've kind of been there, done that, it's no longer that exciting. It becomes a pain in the butt. We grew up in Chicago when I was little. And I remember as a kid, when they would clean off the school parking lots, they would pile these gigantic piles of snow. At least from a kid's standpoint, they were gigantic. And we would dig tunnels through the snow like rats. And we'd have little igloos everywhere and little places to escape and go to. And it was a lot of fun. What I don't like about the snow after it's been on the ground for a while is how dirty it gets, how nasty it looks, how filthy it is. From all the car exhaust, from all the stuff they put on the roads that splashes up onto the white snow. So in big cities like you guys northerners live in, where you get a lot of snow on a regular basis, you know what I'm talking about. Dennis is in the house. Dennis, we're talking about snow a little bit today because America got snow last night, this morning, yesterday. So we're talking about snow. Dennis, I've dropped the link if you want to come up and visit in the thingy-jingy. I can't remember what it's called. In the panel. But we're talking about snow. So that's what I think is what I don't like about that. Any of that mess. I hate how dirty it gets. It's just so filthy looking. And then that's just me. Maybe I'm a clean freak. I don't know, but I don't like that. So that's what we're doing. Dennis, we appreciate you, man. Appreciate you giving us a thumbs up and telling the rest of the world about our live stream. Have you got snow in Canada? Well, you should have had snow in Canada where you're at, right? I am looking at the maps, trying to figure it out. I would think you would have snow in Canada by now. All right, let's see. Tim is in the house. Tim, good morning. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you for the shout out. We appreciate you. Tim, it's a new day in America. It is the most exciting day of the year in America. It's the first day of snowfall, which I know you're not missing at all. So I was telling the gentleman about how that's the most exciting time of the year, the first snowfall. After the second or third one, we hate it. We're sick of it. We have friends that are new here. My wife's sister's here teaching. This is her from the Philippines. So this is her first winter, and she's all giddy and excited about the snowfall up in Chicago. And I keep telling her, we just wait. Because later this year, it's going to be so cold and so windy in Chicago that if she had testicles, it would freeze them off. So saying, everybody say good morning to Tim, if you would. Dennis and Tim are saying hi. Hey, Tim, I know Dennis knows, but if you don't know anything, he has a really good family fishing channel here in America. If you enjoy fishing, he's kind of from your neck of the woods, the Northeast. Tim is saying his hometown got 4 to 6 inches. Yeah, see, and you guys got more coming today, And Tim, aren't you glad that you're not there? Aren't you glad you're not there, my friend? I bet you are. You know, I can't imagine. I hate winter. I'm trying to do something here. Give me a second, gentlemen. Oh, that's funny. Oh, that's what we're doing today. We're going to talk a little bit about the Philippines and a few other things. I'm glad you guys are here. I'm just trying to, sorry, do a little Googling here. I'm trying to find something. Um, Man, how come I can't do that? So I'm a slacker. There we go. All right. Jim says, yeah, I like seeing the snow on YouTube. Yes, I don't like the snow either. I mean, it's 28 degrees here in Arkansas today, Tim, and it's going to warm up. I don't know what's the forecast to warm up to, but it's probably going to be in the mid 40s today. But it's 28 degrees, sunny, so you know it's a cold 28 degrees. And it is a little cold for us this time of the year. Halloween, which we had last night, which was very traditionally rainy for us, this part of the country. Halloween is very traditionally wet and in the 40s. This year it was dry and in the 20s, the upper 20s. So it's kind of different. We did go to a couple Halloween haunted houses last night. One of them, well, I went to one. I took the girls to two. Was probably the worst Halloween haunted house I've ever been. It was so amateurish. It took us 30 minutes to find the stupid thing because on their website they didn't even have the address listed right, which makes me mad. If I'm going to give you 15 bucks, by God, you better be able to get me to your location. But it took me 30 minutes and having to bug them and call them and bug them and call them to figure out where they were. And I told them, I said, this is the most amateurish thing I've ever heard of. What are you doing? Are you scamming people? How many people give up because they can't find you, but that they bought tickets online? Horrible. And then we went to another Halloween haunted house that is one of the largest in the area. I took Lorelai and one of her friends to that. I didn't go into that one because it was just crowded and packed. And I've been in it before years ago, so haunted houses really aren't my thing. I don't get scared easily, so they kind of bore me a little bit or they irritate me. So I don't really get into them. But this one, they had the music outside, live music going on, and they had a big funnel cake truck and all the kind of like a fair. And that was nice. A lot of people there, several hundred, 600 people there probably. Lorelai and her friend really liked that haunted house. I think it was $20 to get in, so at the door. And but they really liked it. It took them about 20 minutes to get through it. The one we paid $15 for took us 5 minutes to get through it. So not very happy with that one. But what are we going to do? We all just can't be happy. But yes, I am not excited about the snow this winter. We Her sister's going to come in. I don't know. I got to look at the long-term forecast. We are going to plan a trip to Alabama, which should be warm over Christmas, New Year's. Her sister's going to fly down from Chicago, so we've got that arranged. And I need to talk to James. Sorry. But so let me pull up this other website I want to talk about. So, what is happening in the Philippines? What is happening in Canada? Does anybody have anything exciting that they want to share? Anything going on in any Finn's world? Dennis, do you have anything coming up or going on in your world? How about Tim? You guys have anything going on? I just talked to Jack. Jack and his fiance apparently are drunk at home. So I think they may be too drunk to join us today. And I'm sure the Yank is already asleep because it's past his bedtime as a young person. You know how those senior citizens, they eat dinner at 3:30 and go to bed by 5:30. And I think the Yank in the Philippines has turned into a senior citizen. Ah, Anyfin is going to be live, guys, on Saturday at a fishing derby. That's great, man. That is fantastic. I like fishing derbies. I'm hoping when we go to Alabama, I'm going to take at least a couple of the evenings and go do some saltwater fishing. That's what we're going to do down in southern Alabama, or LA as they call it, lower Alabama. I guess they want to be trendy now, so Alabama calls itself lower Alabama, or southern Alabama, now refers to itself as LA, lower Alabama. I call it southern Alabama, but whatever. So we're going to go down there and do a little fishing. Yeah, that's a good thing. And then you got the whole family fishing. So you're going to probably be busy managing the fishing for the kids and the family anyway. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah, sit back, watch a chat. This is Lorelai, my beautiful wife, doesn't understand when we had a boat why I hated taking her fishing when she first got to America. Now she knows how to fish because I've worked very hard to teach her. And she's from the Philippines, so you would think she would, catch on to fishing quickly. But I used to hate to take her more like fishing because I spent more time explaining to her and helping her than I actually got to fish. And I'm just like, so I would go fishing without her, and she'd get mad and going, "Well, I don't know why you want to go fishing without your wife." Let me tell you why, you know. But she's gotten better now. Wow. Tim is saying that he sees that airline tickets for me to travel to Canada dropped 25,000 pesos for a bit. Holy crap. Why? Why did they drop so much? I wonder. That's, 25,000 pesos is what, about 550 bucks, right? $500. So that's a big drop, you know. That's a big drop. Oh, that's cool. So I don't know if you guys heard on one of my last live streams, but we talked about how um, the Philippines has now become the number one cruise destination in Asia. Well, I reported it, and I feel bad for the Philippines because now there's a lot of people making fun of the Philippines for somehow getting this big award to become the number one Asian cruise destination. When truly, and I've seen this on YouTube and even some other travel people that I follow, and they're all asking the question: how did the Philippines, who has one cruise port and very limited cruise ships, become the number one cruise destination? So that's an interesting thing. It is very interesting. And there is a new thing going on with the Philippines where they are working, and I don't know if Tim, if you've heard anything about this, about the new map that they are putting together a new map of the Philippines to include a bunch of outlying islands, and now they've been encouraged. The Philippines have been encouraged to name some of these islands and to put them on their map so that it helps to establish their territorial waters when it comes to China, Thailand, Japan, everybody else, Malaysia, in the Asian world. So that's something that's going on right now. Tickets are still about 50,000 too expensive. Yeah. The the problem is with airline tickets. Not only do they cost so much that, well, I guess what I don't like is how you're made to feel when you fly on planes these days. You're made to feel like you're not actually wanted. They want your money, of course, but it's craziness. At the airports, it gets crazy. Having to rush from one terminal to the next terminal. If you ask questions, people get mad at you at the counter. It's like, oh my God, why are you asking us a question? All the documentation you got to have, it just doesn't, it's just not very, I don't know, it's not the friendly skies anymore, that's for sure. It's just not, and it's sad. Tim is saying, yes, the Chinese does not look at maps. You're absolutely right. China doesn't really give a crap about maps. You're absolutely, which is sad because they should, but they don't. And in their world, their desire to conquer the world, they are not going to care. But it is something that's happening, that's going on, and I'm going to try to show you a little bit of it if I can find it here. Tim, what do you think the Chinese do care about? Because I don't think they care about it either. I'm going to see if I can. Oops. Yeah, hang on a second. I'm going to share this thing from CNN with you a little bit.
Amid continuing encounters between the Philippines and China in the West Philippine Sea and Beijing's move to release a new standard map featuring a 10-dash line, the Armed Forces of the Philippines believes it's high time for the Philippines to release its own map.
This standard map will actually counter the narrative of the 10-line map that China has just published.
Details are still unavailable on what the new standard map will look like, but the National Task Force on the West Philippine Sea said it is now in the approval process. But a possible element in the map is the renaming of some maritime features.
I heard this new map will now carry all Filipino names for all our features in the West Philippine Sea. So
For Ambassador Henry Bensurto, the head of the DFA legal team in the Philippine arbitration case ng maritime entitlements, will serve as a guide.
Importante na magkaroon tayo ng mapa na naiintindihan natin para sa mga kababayan natin, para sa mga mangingisda natin, para sa law enforcement natin.
He adds, following the 2016 arbitral ruling, the country's maritime entitlements are now clearer, including baselines, archipelagic waters, territorial sea, contiguous zone, exclusive economic zone, continental shelf, and extended continental shelf.
It's a map that is consistent with international law. Yun ang importante.
And if countries have objections to this new standard map, then Surto says there are a number of options on how issues can be resolved.
We can discuss it bilaterally with that country. And kung hindi tayo mag-agree, maybe we should consider yung mga ibang mechanism available under international, including arbitration, including mediation.
But asserting our rights in the West Philippine Sea should not stop with the release of a standard map. Some experts say it must be taught in our schools and be part of our educational system.
This is important because this is how we will rebut China's claim. It's all there. All of these documents are there, and we must teach our people. Unfortunately, the DepEd has not taken interest in this.
For some experts, the release of an updated Philippine Standard Map is one of the ways on how the country can enforce the 2016 arbitral award, but China previously called the 2016 arbitral ruling as illegal, null, and void. In Zambales Province, Tristan Nodalo, CNN Philippines.
All right, a little clip from the CNN Philippines. Now, one thing I'm going to say about this, well, I'm going to say a couple things. One, the other day I was on a live stream with a bunch of people, and a lot of them were from outside of the country. And look, I get a lot of people hate America. I get that. I don't, and I'm not going to bash our country. But I know a lot of people think we're an evil power, whatever we are. But one of the things that we have done in history is clearly establish things, and we've taught those to our children. And this is something I've been saying about the Philippines, and I feel very strongly about the Philippines. The Philippines could be a fantastic country if, from the very beginning of the young people, they start teaching certain things. And one of these, and I've talked about this, is having pride in the Philippines. Taking, and I mean going deeper than just saying, yay, the Philippines. I'm talking about having pride in their communities, pride in their barangays, pride in nationality. And part of that is clearly for the government to step up and say, this is our land. This is the Philippines. We will defend the Philippines. China, whoever. This is our land. And if you can put that as a grassroots movement with the young people, like they did in America for us, as young people, we're taught, go red, white, and blue, America strong. This is, Puerto Rico is part of the territory, Hawaiian Islands, this is our land. You're not going to tread on our land. You're not going to do it. We may have a lot of issues in America, which I don't disagree with, but establishing who we are is not one of them. And I think that's what the whole country of the Philippines need to do. And that starts with teaching them at a very small age that this is okay, this is what it is. We're not just barangays on an island. We are truly a country of 7,000 plus islands that are one people. And I know there's 3,000 dialects and all this other stuff that makes those islands different. So you got to have a unifying theme. You got to have something to bring all these people together. So Ken Ugger's in the house. Everybody say hello to Ken. We appreciate you, Ken. Thank you for giving us a thumbs up and shouting this stream out to the rest of the world. Because I was telling, like Simon Kennedy's from Britain, and Christian, who's from, Norway, some of those guys, and some of the Australian guys who really doesn't like America too much, that this is our strong suit. You may hate on us. We may talk trash to each other in the United States, but I promise you that if somebody came out and attacked anywhere in the United States, all of us would join in. And that's because even though Southerners are different from Northerners and Westerners and Northeasterners and whatever. It just doesn't matter because we've unified the country in a time of crises. We kill each other now, but in a time of crises or invasion, it would be a totally different thing. But that's because we are taught that that's what we have to do, protect our borders. Tim is saying hello to you, Ken. Ken, did you get snow? We were talking about snow earlier. We're checking to see who all got snow in the United States. So I highly encourage, I like a lot of what the Philippines is trying to do. You know, I still, and I joke about this, I still don't understand how they became the #1 Asian cruise destination with one cruise port that barely operates. But I like the fact that they're going to the drawing board and going, okay, we're going to establish our borders. We're going to decide our territory and we're going to defend our territory. We're going to negotiate with other countries if we have boundary disputes about what to do, which is the right thing to do. What it's going to do, and if you missed something in his statement, was they're going to be in compliance with international law. And what this does for the Philippines is if they're in compliance with international law and a country breaks those international laws, the United States will come to their defense. England, Australia, other countries will say, no, we've all agreed to go with these international laws. China, you've broken those. So China, you're the bad guy. We're all going to defend the Philippines. That's why it's extremely important to go with what the international law says, and that's what the Philippines is trying to do. Ken says he got his first snow last night. We were talking about that, Ken. The first snow of the year is the most exciting time of the year. Forget Christmas, New Year's, the birth of your children, the marriage of your wives. No, the happiest time of the year is the very first snow. By the third snow, we're all sick of it. They got a couple of inches. Yeah, we didn't get any here, obviously. It's still too early in the year, but it is 28 degrees here. Henry is in the house, says good morning, everybody. Now, Henry, I know that you didn't get any snow. So, and it's probably, I would get, let me guess what the temperature is. I'm going to say it is 53 degrees where you're at, Henry. How's that? Henry, do you have any luck selling your classic car yet? Henry has a classic car that he's selling. And Anyfin is in the house, guys, also in the background working. Jim says, I've heard there's not been a cruise ship. Well, exactly. This is what blows my mind. Oh my God, it just blows my mind. Tim, this truly blows my mind. We like to go on cruises, and we have a whole bunch of cruise ship videos. And one thing I did pre-pandemic is I studied really hard on cruising Asia because I wanted to do that while we were in the Philippines. We didn't get to, but I really wanted to. And I looked up the Philippines. I'm like, well, if we're going to be in the Philippines, can I go to Manila? Because I figured it was the biggest port, catch a cruise ship and go around. No. They do have a cruise ship port, and sometimes they get a cruise ship there, but not very often. And there's only one cruise ship, and it comes into Manila for 6 hours and leaves on its way to like a 90-day tour around the world. So right now, there is no cruise line in the Philippines. So I don't understand it. Henry says, nope, no snow where he is. 44, I missed it. It's still hot down south where he is. Henry says, nope, he's still trying to sell. He has a 48 Mercury 8, right? Was it a 48 Mercury 8 that he's selling? But here's what's really interesting. If you guys don't know anything about the cruising world, during the pandemic, when the cruise industries shut down, where do you think they stored all of the cruise ships that were based in the Asian area? Where do you think the best and the cheapest place was for them to moor those ships? Manila Bay. They anchored them in Manila Bay and left them there until cruising started back. They didn't go into Manila, but they anchored them in Manila Bay. Kind of crazy, right? But could the Philippines be a great cruise destination? Yeah, it could. But I don't see how, because they don't have the infrastructure to do that. You definitely got to have cruise ports and tourist spots that tourists would want to go to. The problem with the Philippines, and I've said this, I mean, we own land and we have deeded access to a beach. And the beach, sadly, in the Philippines, it's kind of like the beaches are beautiful as long as you look straight. But if you go this way, not so beautiful. If you look this way, not so beautiful a lot of times. So they would have to do a much better job on creating those tourist areas that people would actually want to go to. They would have to put a cruise ship port into Boracay, maybe somewhere there where they can go there, or one of those, the hot tourist spots. So I don't know. So I don't know how. And they're getting a little bit of flack for winning this award when they have no cruise ships. Henry's going to be in my neck of the woods next week. All right. Henry, did I ever give you my phone number? Let me see if I can figure out how to. Did I ever give you my phone number, Henry? So you can text me. And any of the other guys are welcome to text me if you ever need to, or message me. I'm going to put it in the private chat. You can touch base with me if you're going to be up here, and we'll see if we can't have lunch. So if you see the private chat, that's my number, Henry. Maybe we can get together while you're coming up through this way. But the Philippines is making great strides, I think. They're going to work on their mapping system. And I'm going to. A lot of this is old stuff. I've been reading. I'm trying to update myself on some things that are going on over there so that we know we can stay in touch, It does look like that the Japan and Philippines are in the final stages of talks on security aid. Apparently, Japan's top government spokesman said Wednesday that Japan is in the final stages with Philippines on what equipment to offer Manila when to sign an agreement under Tokyo's official assistance program. I wonder if this is part of the same overall package that they have with the United States to reopen the bases and stuff like that, and to provide money into the Philippines to help the Philippines bolster their security. So there's that. Japan and the Philippines apparently is trying to work together on some things. That. Go back here. Okay. Subic Bay. Exactly. Subic Bay would be good. Now, I don't understand Subic Bay super well. I'm not a geography expert in the Philippines, but is there anything in Subic Bay that would be worth seeing or going to? There is an article out there. Hang on, guys. My voice is getting old. I'm getting tired. Subic Bay is a scenic coastal area in the Philippines that once was a major U.S. naval base and a flashpoint for political tension. The real question is, if they turned it into a cruise port, what would you do there? I mean, there's a bunch of hotels there, nice ones. All right, it's a good tip. Henry has the number. Ken says it might work in Palawan, but would need a port and more tourist spots been built up. It would. The I think the one thing I would have to say that the Philippines would have to do if they truly want to become a world tourist destination, not just a destination for single expats or expats that are married to Filipinos, but truly a family destination, a place for couples that are non-Filipino related to come and visit and to be in, is like Ken is saying, you got to have more things to do. They have to be better organized also. They're, what I kind of mean by that is you can't have your tourists to feel like they're always being hustled, always being scammed. And I think that would be a problem that people would have in the Philippines. Hotels and clubs would need to go the other direction for major. Yeah, it would. The thing would be, how do we change? How would you guys change the perception of the Philippines from a global standpoint? And I'm going to just tell you, I grew up around the Filipino community here, along with the Korean community and the Vietnamese community and the Spanish one. So I grew up a lot of different cultures around me. And I'm going to tell you, as a young person, growing up, I always kind of knew the Philippines had an image of scammers and hustlers, and it's only really a place for men to go be sex pets. Korea, different story. Even, Vietnam, different story. Thailand is always kind of that same thing. Thailand always had an expat, sexpat vibe to it growing up as a young man here. So if that's the majority, and I've done this since being married over 10 years, and I've asked friends at the college, students, what's your first impression of the Philippines? And granted, a large majority of the people went, oh, never heard of it. Where is it? A lot of the guys I've talked to said, oh yeah, that's where the women are. You can go there to find women. And I'm like, yeah, but that's really all they know about it, is the women. And then of course someone would say, oh yeah, I heard about you can be scammed there and blah, blah, blah. So what do you think the Philippines can do to change their image globally? Do you think they're willing to do that? Because I really believe this. Our first attempt to live in the Philippines went completely wrong. And I'm going to do a video down the road here. I'm still working on it. We've been back in the United States for a year and a half, right? Yeah, year and a half. So I'm still working on this video because I want to get it right. I have a lot of thoughts about the mistakes that we made and what happened to us our first attempt in the Philippines. So I'm working on that. So we both really enjoy the Philippines. We appreciate the Philippine people and the country. But there's just so much more that the Philippines could be than what it is. And I know it's not the people of the Philippines' fault. It's not. It's not the guy that lived next door to us' fault that the Philippines is the way it is. Let's see what Tim says. There you go. The global community is considering it as a dirty country. That's my point, Tim. The Philippines need to pick up the trash and actually need to have pride in their community. And this is what I was saying earlier to like Simon Kennedy in England and some of those other guys that don't live in the United States, is whether you hate us or not, we take pride in the country of America. We honor the country. Whether you like the political parties or not, it doesn't matter. Whether you like paying taxes or not, it doesn't matter. It's all garbage. But we, as the people of America, protect America. What we do. The Philippine people needed that. That needs to be taught to them as babies. We're going to take pride in our local community. I was never so disappointed to see more diapers and shit and people taking pisses and craps in public in my life in the Philippines. Coming from a Western country, that is just not cool, not good. So I agree with you. Well, I was kicked out of the Philippines for having a good time years ago, but I think I got someone upset with me. Well, yeah. Oh, Henry. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness gracious, great balls of fire. Henry, you make me laugh. But Henry was kicked out of the Philippines. Henry, I want to know what you did to get kicked out of the Philippines. Were you blacklisted, or was it just highly recommended that you vacate the islands? Now, granted, I think you were back there in the 80s, if I remember what you told me one time, right? The late 80s is when you were there. So hopefully you're not blacklisted, and hopefully you're not still blacklisted. If you need a reference to get back in the country, you can let Tim or I know, or even Ken. Ken goes to the Philippines all the time, and we will give you a letter of reference. I was wild back then. Well, and I think, I think this is something that the Philippine government is doing. The Philippines are doing. I get a lot of people send me emails and ask me questions, and I'm happy to answer and give all the advice I can or tips, whatever. It's part of what I do as an old teacher. And I'm one of the biggest people to say, if you're going to the Philippines just to get drunk and sleep with women, don't go there. Go somewhere else. Because it's not good for the Philippines, as a whole, for just to be a bunch of drunken expats. So, it's not good overall. But I get why people do it. I ran into people there that just go there to have sex and get drunk. That's what I do here. I ran into Koreans in the Philippines. I'm not picking on us white guys. I'm telling you, we ran into Korean men who fly over and they spend the weekend and just drink like fish and sleep with as many women as they can. I've actually ran into a few Muslim guys from Muslim countries when I was there who fly over for business. Business. Henry says it was back in the 80s. Please let's go back on the plane to Japan. So you were in the military then. So, that's funny, Henry. They'll probably let you back in now. Did Henry get kicked out of the Philippines along with the Beatles? Did the Beatles get kicked out of the Philippines? Seriously, I didn't know that. Why did they get kicked out of the Philippines? I didn't know that story. Get kicked out of. I know. Let's see. Yeah, let's see what it says here. The real reason the Beatles snubbed the first lady of the Philippines. Uh-oh. That's what happened. You can't snub a first lady of any country, whether they deserve it or not. You can't do it. On August the 29th, 1966, the Beatles played their last concert at San Francisco's Candlestick Park, making the decision to stop performing live. Okay, we don't care about that one. Let's get to the Philippines issue. Ill-fated trip to Manila, the Philippines, in the first week of July of '66 that showed them vilified by supporters of President Marcos over the unintentional snub of his wife, Imelda Marcos. Let's see here. So apparently, it says here, the real reason is I'm reading. So the Beatles landed at Manila International Airport, now in Hanoi Airport, on July the 3rd of '66. They were treated as gods among men. That was the first problem. That didn't seem like much of a consolation, as Ringo Starr notably recalled feeling uncomfortable upon his arrival. I hated the Philippines, the drummer said. We arrived there with thousands upon thousands of kids with hundreds and hundreds of policemen. It was a little dodgy, is what he says. After wining and dining at a private yacht with Manila's elite, the Beatles returned to Manila Hotel around 4 a.m., July the 4th. Feeling tired from the flight and the party, all probably wanted to do was rest and to get ready for the shows. However, the Beatles weren't informed beforehand. They were not informed beforehand. They were invited to the First Lady Imelda Marcos's reception at the Palace, the Philippine equivalent of the White House, at 11 a.m. So they get home at 4 a.m. and they got to be at the Palace at 11 a.m. and nobody told them. And this is what Ringo Starr is saying. And it wasn't like the group enjoyed smoozing with politics anyway. So let's see. So they took it as a casual invite, not necessarily a mandatory invite. So the Beatles were saying in their memoirs that, hey, we got word that they would like for us to come over at 11, but it wasn't like you need to come over at 11. It's like, hey, we're here. You want to come over and join us at 11. And apparently the Beatles decided, no, thank you. So, so that's right. As long as Ken did not snub, that's funny, Ken. Sorry, Henry. So the Beatles were they're in trouble because they blew off the first lady's invite to come to her White House. Somebody should have. What do we have here is a failure to communicate, is what it sounds like. It really is. The girls are a bonus, let's be honest. Now, look, Ken, boy, I'll get in trouble. Thank God my wife's not here. The girls aren't. The girls are what makes the Philippines worth going to. Period. And we all know this. We all know this. They're what makes the Philippines worth going to. Now, if my wife asks you if I said that, the answer is absolutely not. But that is the honest to God truth. The women of the Philippines, their smiles, their personality. My wife's the greatest in the world, and she is. They're the motivation for probably 99% of the people to go to the Philippines. Whether we're already married one and we go back for them, we go there to find them, or we just go there to meet them, whatever it is that we do, it is. But a husband and wife who's traveling and doing things have no incentive to go to the Philippines. Non-Filipino. Henry, I agree that the women here are fun to be with as long as they are. Well, yeah. Well, the married ones are fun too, just as long as you don't, get caught. I didn't say that. Not what I said. I didn't say that. You're right. So Henry still has friends out there in the Philippines. The Philippines is a good place, we made a lot of mistakes when we tried to retire in the first time in the Philippines. Will we retire full time in the Philippines again? I don't know. I've got to think about it. We are truly blessed that we can really enjoy life in America. We don't need the money issue. How much cheaper it is in the Philippines is nice, but not super relevant, if that kind of makes sense. But Tim, you retire there for the health, and the women are a bonus. Now, Tim, this is what I'm going to say to you guys all. And Lorelai and I were talking about this. And Lorelai, she's been here 10 years, and we've gone back 3 different times, and we tried to live there once. And when the typhoon hit us and I got sick, we came back to the U.S. And we made a bunch of mistakes. Even though I spent a long time preparing, we still screwed up. But my wife currently really doesn't want to live in the Philippines again. We do own land, and we either plan on building some rental properties and or a retirement home. We don't know what we're doing. But so she's really hesitant because one, she knows that I get bored easy. And in the Philippines, in America, I'm bored, but I'm bored more in the Philippines. So she knows that's a problem for me. So she's not real for sure if she would ever want to go back and live full time in the Philippines. But here's what I will say. Health-wise, up until the time I started getting sick after the typhoon hit, when we had no water, no electricity, you know what I mean? The hardship of living without those things put a struggle on my heart, my bad heart, in my lungs. And I got infested with mosquito bites and things. So I wasn't doing really well health-wise after the typhoon. So, but here's something that we have learned. In the Philippines, we drank more soda. We drank and ate more cake and ice cream, Goldie cakes and red ribbon cakes. And we ordered out food 5-6 times a week because it was so much easier. And we lost weight. In America, we watch our diet strictly, and we try to avoid sweets and sugars and foods and walk and exercise. And Lorelai and I both have gained weight, in the year and a half that we've been back in America. And in the Philippines, we ate like teenagers and lost weight. What does that tell you? Ganunga says, true, I go through all the hassles to get there, more and more any reasons to see more. Yeah, you should. You know, and I'm a big fan of the Philippines, but I think you got to have the right environment and the right incentives to go. So Maureen's a good person. You guys look like you work well together, and I think that's important. So I think you should go as much as you can. And I know you're only a few more years away before packing in, and your brother is in the Philippines, right, Ken? So I think you got a long-term brother there. There is a lot of really good people there. There's obviously, just like in America, I'm not going to pick on the Philippines. Everywhere you go, there's good and bad people. And the Philippines has a lot of really good people, and it has a lot of really bad people. But what I tell people when they ask for my advice, well, hey, I want to go to the Philippines because I really dig the Philippine women and the alcohol is cheap. I'm like, well, you need to make a decision about what you're going to do. If you're going to go to places where you shouldn't be and acting like a fool, whether it means flashing money or acting like a tough expat or a vulgar expat, a loudmouth who thinks whatever rules he thinks should be going on should be followed, meaning my way or the highway, because I am an American. I don't know why you crappy Filipinos do it this way. I'm an American. I'm going to show you how to do it. That's the wrong way to approach it. You're going to get yourself into situations that you shouldn't be in, and there's going to be a lot of people that are not going to be happy with you. So that's what you have to understand. Just like in America, if you go down to certain streets in Philadelphia, Chicago, Dallas, Texas, you're going to the wrong places. The Philippines is no different than that. If you walk around with a wad of cash acting like King Kong, you're going to get burned. In the Philippines, in Thailand, Germany, America, wherever. So you got to be smart about it. You can have whatever it is that you want, but you don't want to invite trouble to bust you up and to knock you down and maybe even kill you, because there's been, one thing I learned years ago from some Filipino friends. This is before I got married. I had a friend, an American friend, that went over to the Philippines to meet his fiance. Well, something happened. He went out on his own. He got really drunk, and I guess he told the story. He got drunk at some bar in Manila. He got really mouthy and got in a fight with one Filipino guy. But what he didn't understand was he got in a fight with one of them, but 10 of them kicked the shit out of him. So, yeah, his brother, Ken's brother retired out there, but so you're going to spend a year in Thailand. That's cool. I would love to go to Thailand. Thailand's one of my spots I'd like to go to. Henry says, yeah, I did. I got Well, that's all right. The good thing is this about the Philippines, it's not part of the European Union, the EU, because one thing I learned recently, and I didn't know this, I was doing some research about taking a cruise in Europe. So I was doing a bunch of research. One thing I found was now with the EU, let's say if you got in trouble in France when you were in the military and you got a police record or there's a problem that you had in France, if you want to go to England, they will and can deny you into England because collectively the EU now passes criminal records or immigration records with each other. So they can look it up and say, oh, well, you never paid your fines in France, so we're not letting you in England. So luckily the Philippines doesn't do that. But Henry, we've all been young and dumb. And trust me, I know I'm guilty of this myself. At a certain age, we all think we're, what's that song? 10 foot tall and bulletproof. And if we get a little alcohol in us, then we definitely think we are God's gift to the next women. So, and we can do anything, you know. So, Henry, I don't hold being young and dumb against you, especially if you've learned things. But now the real question for you, Henry, is would you go back to the Philippines? Or would you marry a Filipino? So that's the question there for Henry. So there's a lot of really good people, a lot of really good things about the Philippines, but they could do so much better if we taught the basic country pride in the Philippines, pride in their communities, pride in doing business, you know, because there are a lot of things that I think the Philippines does right. One of them is I actually don't have a problem with, as a spouse, I can't own property in the Philippines. My wife has to own it. Now I have spousal rights, but my wife owns the property, not me. Tim says it's past his bedtime. Well, Tim, we appreciate you. I'm glad you're doing well. Thank you for joining us tonight. And hang in there, man. You just keep doing you, and I hope your health is going well. And we'll talk to you soon, my friend. So, you know, there's a lot that they do right. I like that. I like the fact that not just anybody can just show up and buy up the land. But I don't think they do enough to help locals be business owners. You know, one thing that we saw and learned was how many Korean owned businesses there are. Or businesses, and what they do is you're like, well, how can they own businesses? Well, easy. What they do is they get married to a Filipina. And if I remember the rule right, and if you guys know differently, correct me, that as long as the wife has 60% of the business in her name, then it can be co-owned by somebody else. And so Lorelai and I wanted to run a business. We could easily do it. She would just be 60% over. Bama Nola Adventures, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the thumbs up and the shout out. Say hello to everybody. We got Jim and Henry and Ken and Annie Finn is up there also. So it's good to have you here. Henry is here. Ken's here. We are talking about all kinds of things. We're talking about the first snow in America, how exciting it is. We've talked a little bit about the Beatles, the Philippines, cruise ships. What is going on, Bama, in your world? What is there anything that you got going on that you'd like to share out to anybody? So I do like the fact that the Philippines has a lot of things in place, but I don't think they do enough to help a small business owner. When we were there, they were starting to crack down on business licenses. And I get that. They should have a structure in place for business licenses and how to collect taxes, but they also need to use that money to improve the roads. Bama says it's cold down in New Orleans. So let me guess. It is 43 degrees in New Orleans, which is cold for you guys. It's very cold for you guys. It has warmed up in Arkansas to 33 degrees, no snow. It should be in the high 40s today for us. So Dennis is in here somewhere. He's from Canada. I'm sure it's a lot colder in Canada. So I don't think any of us Southern people want to go to Canada at the moment. But so I do think there's a lot of really good things going on there, and I think they can do a lot better if they will do that. Now, one thing I encourage a lot of you guys to do, if you're curious, is go to these expat forums. Now, there's a lot of these on the website. They will help you figure out what country you may want to go to. And I think I told the story that before I got married to Lorelei, I actually was planning on retiring in Panama. I mean, that was high on my bucket list was Panama. It was number one. And I was looking at after getting done retiring, teaching, that I was going to go down to Panama and live. But life intervened, and I got one of those Filipino girls to sucker me into marrying them, and the rest is history from there. But you know, I like some of the expat forums. You can go to check those out. There's a lot of great information out here about those. Let's see if I can find a little vibe on there it is. What I like about it is some of these will give you a lot of just good basic information. Now, if you're going to be thinking about traveling to the Philippines or any Asian country, you need to do your homework without question. Do your homework. Go have fun, but do your homework. Learn and understand what, like Henry, why can get you kicked out of the country. And what can get you blacklisted, what you should and should not do. It's very important. I mean, and as somebody who's married to a Filipino, as in like Tim and Ken and everybody, we all know that we are still learning the process of making sure that we don't offend in the Philippines. And on the other side of that coin, when my wife got here, I spent a lot of time teaching her how not to offend in the United States, because I think that is equally important. You know, there's certain words and phrases that we don't use in the United States that in other countries, they don't have a problem just blurting it out. But we don't do those. We don't say those things. We're more sensitive to certain words. And so I had to go over some of that with my wife. And I would ask Lorelei and say, well, what is it that I can't say in the Philippines? And she never gave me a word. She's like, it's just more about the tone. No, she's like, David, you with your rough voice and your size will scare people. I'm like, oh, okay. You know, it's like, so you got to be careful about not being too intimidating. So one of the things I've always worked on is, and I'm going to tell you a couple stories, is not to be intimidating, but also just to be polite. And I thought the first trip I made to the Philippines, I'm like, okay, I'm going to work hard to be polite because I'm not a polite person. I'm an American. What I found though, after I was there a little bit, since everybody is so laid back or so happy, that it was easy to be nice. It was easy to thank people for doing things for you because they're happy, they're smiling, they're enjoying their day, they're making a living, and it's their job. But yet they do it with a smile. You know, you go to places here and try to buy something and you get attitude. You know, you go and check in a hotel and the lady behind the desk is a mean ass, fat chick who's angry at the world. Like, oh my God. You know, you go to a store or a restaurant, everybody's pissed off. So it's easy in the Philippines to be nice. And so here's my point. You have to work really hard to be a jerk in the Philippines. And let me say this. If you're a jerk in the Philippines, then shame on you. Because, and this is something I'll tell you guys. I don't know why these other YouTube channels of expats in the Philippines from Australia, from America, from other places are so pissed off at each other. Why they're so mad. How they want to just tear each other up because, oh my God, this person said that. You're supposed to be living in your paradise. And if you guys watch this or listening to this, any of you angry expats who have YouTube channels, just understand, I don't get it. I don't get it. If you are angry, leave. Go somewhere else. Go do something else. I mean, we had to leave because of my health. And I wasn't happy, because of my health was going down, so I was miserable. But if you're going to stay in the Philippines and fight with people, are you doing it just because you want YouTube views? Why are you so miserable? It's hard to be miserable in the Philippines if that's what you've dreamed all your life of being. If you dreamed all your life of going and living in the Philippines and you get there, right? And, well, now you hate being a pig farmer, or you hate being a British expat, or you hate being this, or you hate being that. Whatever, you hate this person or hate that person. Man, you guys, I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with you. I think you got to just go mind your own business, is what I think, But so I think it's important that you figure out what makes you happy there and try to achieve that. And we know a lot of people, a lot of expats who are very, very happy in the country that they're living in, whether it's the Philippines or not. Let's see what Bama says here. Bama, my brother is a teacher in China and has married a Chinese woman. He has to leave China every so often, due to his visa. When he leaves, he goes to Thailand and sees his other wife. Oh my God. Oh my God. Bama, Bama, Bama. Bama. Oh my God. Joe and Ginny in the house. How are you?
Doing good there, Dave. How are you doing?
I am good. I am laughing at Bama because Bama has a brother who's married to a Chinese lady. And when he leaves the country, he goes to see his Thailand wife. Oh my God. I'm just telling people, Joe, how you should be a good expat in the Philippines, in these foreign countries. And Bama, boy, you just burst at my bubble there, Bama. You just kind of, so what's up with you, Joe?
Not a whole lot.
Any snow?
Nothing yet.
Okay. We're checking snow. But
Got cold enough for it last night.
yeah, it was 27 degrees here. So, oh my goodness gracious. So, I still can't get over your comment, Bama. Oh my God. Well, and we have players in the house. Dennis is a player. Dennis is from Canada. So he could probably relate to your story there. Um, but Joe, what I was talking about a second ago, if you didn't hear, was I was talking about I didn't understand why these other expat channels are fighting with each other. They're supposed to be living where they dreamed of living. They're supposed to be living in their paradise. They're supposed to be living, finally got to retire where they wanted to retire, where they could afford to retire, where they could do the things that they wanted to do, but yet they have nothing but piss and vinegar to say about others. I don't understand that, Joe.
Neither do I, and I've seen a lot of that myself.
And I know you pay close to, or you're in the YouTube world enough to know all these channels, and we're not going to name names, but I just don't get it, right? I mean, I don't get it.
I don't get it myself, and some of the channels I just stopped following.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, how much hate or piss and vinegar, as my grandmother used to say, can you listen to? That's how I see that, and it still just blows my mind. There are, on the other hand, a lot of really good channels that, show the good and the bad. And I think it's important to show the bad side of the Philippines and the good side, just like it's important to show the good and bad of America. So I think all of those things are important to do. But
Right.
I don't know. It just blows my mind a little bit. But what we're talking about is kind of like the Philippines becoming a better nation. And one thing they're doing is they're upgrading their mapping system for the world so that they can claim territories that's theirs and come into compliance with the international law, which may help them become a more stable country.
Right.
So
I I, I miss the Philippines myself, and I miss Jeannie being out there so long.
yeah. Well, long distance relationships or LDRs are probably some of the most difficult things to deal with in life. You know, um, for both parties. It's kind of like, unless you're Bama's brother. He has a Chinese wife and a Thailand wife, so he probably doesn't mind the LDRs. But an LDR for the most part. We were talking last night in the car. My wife and her friend went haunted housing, and they were talking about that the friend has a friend who they just found out um, is married in the Philippines, but is here in the United States as a nurse and is dating here in America. So she has a boyfriend in America, but she's actually married and living with in the Philippines her husband. So
Don't let they better not get caught.
well, and this is something, but and they were talking, and I was listening because I let the Filipinos talk about the Philippines, and I just kind of listened a little bit. The other thing they were talking about was how a lot of times the Philippine women will be okay because their Philippine man, their husband cheats on them because they think eventually the man will come back to them because they're the first wife. And I asked the girls last night, I said, well, why would you guys want that guy back? Why would you take him back? And well, of course, their answer was they wouldn't. But the question would be then why would so many Filipinas want to take back their Philippine husband who's been out whoring around and cheating on them for years? You know what I mean? But it happens. I see it. I know it happens.
Yeah, it happens a lot.
So that's part of what I don't understand. But the real question for of course, Ken has been on LDR and goes to the Philippines quite a bit. So here's a question for everybody. Would you recommend an LDR?
Take it easy out there, Tim. Have a good night.
So would you, Joe, encourage people to get into an LDR?
Yeah, it's got its advantages, but it's also got its disadvantages. Disadvantage once you form that bond with your Filipina, it's gonna really kind of mess with you.
Yeah. I think from my perspective, you have to have a plan going into LDR. It's like Ken. Ken has a plan. He knows when he's retired. He knows when he goes. He goes about every year or so. So he has a concrete plan in place that he can execute. And when I first dated my wife, Lorelai, I quickly decided, I need to put a plan in place to make this happen, to make it work. Mama says he would like to
That is
visit.
so true, Ken.
Yeah. So Bama would like to go to the Philippines, and we would encourage you to go. You know, I'm sure your brother would hook you up with his third wife. So Ken says an LDR is not easy and not for everyone. It takes time and money for travel. And I really believe you have to, like I said, Ken, do you agree with this? That you have to have a plan because you can't do this. You can't do an LDR forever. Ken says he is, yes, going to retire soon. Have been going to the Philippines for 20 years. 20 years. And Ken, let me ask you this question. What, besides Maureen, besides, your partner, what is it that draws you to the Philippines? So that's what I'm curious. So I know you can't take her out of the equation, but what is it that draws you to the Philippines besides going to spend time with Maureen? Is there anything that you can think of that makes you go, this is why I enjoy going to the Philippines so much? Why you're willing to put the money out? Those type of things. Yeah, I mean, Ken was married to a Filipina before who became Americanized. And that's a whole other topic about whether you should Americanize your Filipina or not. That's the key. I mean, and I don't have an answer for whether we should Americanize the Filipinos. There's a lot of time, or somebody from another country, even Bama's Chinese wife or his Thailand wife, if you could get them into America. I don't think it's a good thing to Americanize women. Ken says, to me, it's about the adventure and the people. Ken, I'm going to agree with you. I mean, the adventure is what drives me. I would go anywhere tomorrow. I don't care. If somebody said, hey, David, how would you like to go to Bama? LDR stands for long distance relationship, a long distance relationship. So if somebody said, you want to go to Africa tomorrow? I'd go. I don't care. I love it. My legs aren't any good. I can barely walk. I got a bad heart, bad lungs, bad back, bad knees, whatever. But I'd go. I mean, I'm ready to catch a plane today and go anywhere and everywhere, especially if Lorelai can go with me to take care of me. So if my wife can go with me to take care of me, then I'll go anywhere in the world. I'm ready to go. I love the adventure. And that was part of my problem. And I'm going to do a video, guys, down the road here about the mistakes we made retiring to the Philippines. And one of those was there wasn't enough adventure. And there's reasons for that, but for me, that was a problem. So, LDR, yep, long distance relationship. It's not an easy thing to be in, but I think if you have a plan and you want that type of person, it's worth going through. Because Bama, as Joe and Ken and others will contest to, that most guys get into LDRs because they want a more traditional woman, so to speak. I've done a video, and I'm not shy about it, about what's wrong with American women. So I call them out, what I think is wrong with American women. In that video, I get a lot of input from American women telling me what they think is wrong with American women. So it's not just me bashing on them. But a lot of guys don't want the traditional American woman anymore, or what has become a normal American woman. They want somebody who fits more the mold of how we grew up, somebody who's family oriented, somebody who wants to think about family first, not their careers. one of the biggest problems you'll see with American women versus women from Asian countries or other countries is a lot of American women believe that the husband works for them, where in other countries, it's not so much that the woman works for the husband, but she recognizes that my husband is not my employee, that we can do things together and work together as a family unit. So that's one of the big draws. And that's what I was saying, Bama. Your brother is in a long distance relationship. He's in a long distance relationship with his wife in Thailand while he's in China hanging out with his Chinese wife. Does Bama, does your brother have any desire to bring one of the two wives to America? That's right. Kid is saying true. Men who are looking for old school relationships where each has their own roles. And I know a lot of guys get criticized in America for wanting a non-American woman, like, oh well, you just want a girl who's going to be your slave, to worship your feet, to be subservient. Well, my wife doesn't call it subservient. She calls it being respectful. I think Ken would probably agree with this. Maureen probably looks at this as being respectful. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, Jenny calls her being respectful.
Yeah. And I gotta admit, it drives me crazy because my wife sometimes is a little too respectful. Even for instance, last night she threw a fit because I wasn't wearing a heavy enough coat because she doesn't want me to get sick. Like, oh my God, just leave me alone. I'm a guy, I can do what I want. But their culture is to take care of the family unit. And they don't see it as being controlling, they see it as showing love and respect. And I do believe, as Ken says, that, as Joe says, and as Tim knows, and all these other folks from all over the world, even Simon over in England and the guys down in Australia who are married to Filipinos, is it's very, very important to find the type of spouse that you want. And I'll tell you, I have some American examples. I know some guys in America who love having a wife who's the boss, who loves saying, my wife is the boss. Whatever she says, I do. I'm her bitch. I know guys like that. Hey, if that's your style, that works great for you, then you should. But if it's not your style, then don't get into that. Ken is saying, I agree. When Maureen gives me a hard time about something, it's, yeah, and I hate that. Tim, it's like, well, fine. Even though I didn't want to do it, I didn't want to wear that stupid heavy coat last night when it was really, 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 really cold outside. Because, but I did it anyway, and it turned out to be the smart thing. So just don't tell Lorelai.
Well, especially when you're getting in and out of the car. You don't want nothing bulky.
It's just women. So Bama was talking about he has brought both of them. Wow, both of them to this. How the hell did he do that? But not at the same time. But he has no desire to bring either one to the States to live. Wow, I wonder how he got through immigration with them. Surely not his wives. I mean, because immigration keeps track of that crap pretty good. I'd be really curious how he brought them to the United States. But yes, obviously not at the same time. So, Bama, let me ask you this. Which wife does he like better? Does he like the Chinese wife or the Thailander wife better? That's going to get you in trouble there, buddy. Which one does he like better? Anybody, most of us are hooked up with Filipinos, but if you had to choose between a Chinese or a Thailander, who would you go with? Ken, Joe?
I'll stay with Jeannie.
Bama? Who would you? See, that's the politically correct answer, Joe. If the Philippines didn't exist and there is no Philippine women in the whole entire world, would you be more interested in somebody from England or China?
I'd still try to find one.
Oh, Joe, don't be a coward. Come on, man. Come on. You know,
I'm not being a coward. It's just that the Philippines is more, or the way America was back in the 1950s.
yeah, I agree with that. I totally agree with that. I, from my thought, to be honest, I don't know. Ken, Ken threw a monkey wrench in there. He'd go to Malaysia, so I don't know if I don't know which one I would choose between China and Thailand. I don't, man, that's a hard decision to be honest. If there's no other Asians in the world besides those two, I don't know. I think I'm going to go with Ken and go to Malaysia. All right, and so now this is going to get us all in trouble, but let's do it. And you can't say the Philippines, all right? You can't go and say the word Philippines. All right. Which Asian country has the most beautiful women? And you can't say the Philippines. Ken says, yes, I agree. If Joe's like going back, it is. And that's one of the nice things about it. It feels like you can make a home there, that you can have a happy environment. The stress isn't as bad, but it can be more enjoyable there. It's more family values. And I don't know. I agree. It's more like that. Bama says, okay, he's 58 years old. He is a Chinese lady around his 50s in Thailand. Oh, Jesus. So your brother's living the dream, is what you're telling us. He's living the dream. Robert Simmons in the house. Good to see you. Good to have you here. Thank you for the thumbs up and shutting us out.
Morning there, Robert.
To everybody today. Everybody say hello to Robert. Robert say hello to everybody. So China. Henry's vote, because Henry listened to my instructions and said you can't pick the Philippines. Which country has the most beautiful Asian women in it? Henry has voted for China because he listened to the instructions. Joe, I need an answer.
I'd have to. If I can't choose my Philippines, I'll have to go to Japan.
All right. Robert is saying hello to Brother Joe. Bama says Japan. Joe says Japan. Henry says China. We are looking for Robert's answer and Ken's answer and everybody else's. So Japan. I don't know. I'm still thinking about my answer. So I really don't have an answer, but I don't know. So which Asian country has the most beautiful women? Oh, Robert, you're breaking the rules. You can't say the Philippines. The Philippines is off the table. The Philippines, for this experiment, for this exercise, for this troublemakingness, is off the tables. It never existed. There's never a Philippines. So which Asian country has the most beautiful women? Why, Henry, why do you think China? And I want to know why we think Japan is. Bama, why the Japanese women? Why the Japanese? Joe, why Japanese then?
Oh, since I can't go into the Philippines, might as well go somewhere.
Oh, so you just randomly picked a spot with Asian women?
Hey, you said it's just an exercise, but that's why you said no, can't choose the Philippines.
You can't choose the Philippines. But
But I've
so
already chosen the Philippines. So
yeah,
there you
but
go.
they don't exist in this. So Robert is saying hello to everybody, to Ken and Bama. So Bama, why did you pick Japan? Ken, are you sticking with Malaysia as your country? And if so, why? Because 'cause I really am curious why. Because I think Japanese women, in my perspective, what makes Japanese women so attractive? What makes women attractive? That's the interesting thing. What makes Filipino women attractive? Maybe we could look at it from that perspective. Maybe we have more experience and knowledge. What makes Filipino women so attractive? I think I know the answer to that, but I want you guys to tell me, from your perspective, what makes Filipino women, Filipinas, so attractive? Joe, do you have an answer?
They're caring. They're very trusting, especially if you find the right one.
God, Bama. Robert says he's already in love with the beautiful a beautiful Filipina. So are we all. So are we. Just to make this clear, my wife, who's from the Philippines, is the greatest and the only woman in the whole world. The rest of them, nobody. So we just got to clarify this. So Joe says because they're kind and caring is what makes them attractive. Bama says it's because he likes short women. Well, you said Japan. I don't see Japan as short women. I see the Chinese as short women. I see Filipinos as short women. I see Malaysians as short women, right? But I see Indians, Japan, Koreans are short. I see Japan is tall. Thailanders can be tall. So Ken Unger says Japan and South Korea are already westernized. They are. I agree. And Ken, and this is what hits it on me for Japan women. Japanese women are attractive. I think they're the most attractive when they're the traditional Japanese women. That's what I find attractive in Japanese women. Henry says, well, after talking with many women in China, I have a lot of respect for the women there. I know some Chinese women, family women, as friends, of course. I have a lot of respect for the women in China because they have a hard life. It's not the easiest place to live, like the Philippines, but they work hard and they do a really good job. Ken says, caring and loyal for sure. Okay, so that's a vote for that on why Filipino women are attractive. Robert says Filipino women are beautiful, heart and soul and caring. Okay, so all right. So you guys aren't ever going to be brave enough to put out a physical effort. You're going to, since we're all married to them, we're going to stick to the fact that they're just really good women. All right. And so Robert says loyalty and loving. Henry is saying now Japanese women are beautiful, but they have a bit of anger issues. Yeah. Trust me, I've seen it a lot of the Japanese women. Yeah. The interest, and I know this is horrible of me to say, but I think it's kind of funny when Chinese women get angry. I think that's funny. All right. So you guys are all going to stick to why Filipino women are so beautiful. It's because they're loving and caring and all of that good stuff. So my question would be this. Oh man, we're going to get into some nasty deep water here. What would be the country that has the ugliest women in it in the world? And don't give me a politically correct answer like, oh, women are beautiful. That's what I say. So give me a country that has the ugliest women because I want to find something out. Robert says, I am loyal to my beautiful Filipino partner. We are. That's Robert, I'll tell you, and I know Ken and Joe and everybody else in here can tell you that if you find the right Filipino woman for you, it is extremely easy to be loyal to them. It just doesn't cross our minds to do anything but. So, bingo. Ken says American women are the ugliest. I have one vote for American women, and I'm going to second that, or 1.5 that, because I have another country in mind too. So, Ken says American women are the ugliest. Joe, do you got an opinion? Come on now. I need an opinion about ugly women, Joe.
I'd have to definitely say the American women.
Okay? Another vote for
I've been
American.
through 2 terrible marriages.
Robert says she is her.
They're both looking out more for themselves.
I agree with that. Henry votes for American women too. Robert says he agrees with Ken, American women. So I think we all agree with that. Now it may be our biasness. It may be, because we are a very small group of people that have already shunned American women and gone a different direction. So it may be, that. So let me say this, just for our purpose of our exercise. If American women were kind, loving, and caring, would they be beautiful women? Because I think Filipino women are beautiful.
I can't say yet. I can't say yay and I can't say nay to that one, Dave.
Because what we're saying is Filipino women are beautiful because they're kind, caring, and loving. So let's flip the script. If we threw that into the American culture, would American women be beautiful then? I will stand up and say, no. I think Filipino women are beautiful in part because they are kind, caring, and loving. Oh my God, Ken. Oh my God. Ken, once you've gone Asian, there's no going back. I agree with that. Mama says all women can be beautiful and ugly. Beauty
So
is
true.
on. That's right. Here's what I know, or what I think about why Filipino women are so beautiful. And I do think it has a lot to do with the fact that they're kind, they're caring, and they're loving. But the question is, how do you know that? How do you know that's how they are? Is it because the internet told us that? No. Or maybe it is. I don't know. But how I know this is because when you see Filipino women, especially one that you might have an interest in, or maybe this is why we have an interest in them, they light up, they smile. You can tell that they're happy, that they're good people through their eyes, through their smiles, through their mannerisms. That's the immediate attraction, I think, for men when it comes to Filipino women. Then we learn and realize how loving, caring, and whatever the other word was, that Filipino women are. But I think the immediate thing is they light up the rooms with their smiles, their laughs, their humor, the fact that they cover their face when they laugh. Little quirky things like that. They pronounce things wrong. My wife still today calls this a beardy. Like it's not sorry, that's not wrong. She calls it a birdie, like a bird. Flapping one. It's a beard, not a bird. Well, it's a beard, birdie. Whatever. but it's cute. So women do those. I think Filipino women just naturally come across immediately as happy, loving people because they smile, they light up the room. Joe, what do you think? Henry? Does Henry agree with me? No, I have to agree with you on that one. Okay, good. Bama says, got to get off of here. Great conversation. Got to get back to work. Well, Bama, enjoy the New Orleans. Stay busy, stay happy, and stay in touch. We appreciate you, brother. It's good for you joining us today. We appreciate it greatly. Yeah, they say birdie, it's so fun, right? You know, it's just like, so Ken says, Bama, enjoy your day later on. So that's what I think makes Filipino women. Ken, do you agree with me? Chasing Tails Outdoors just made it in the house. Everybody say hello to them. Chasing Tail, we appreciate you being here. Thank you for the thumbs up and the shout out. We greatly appreciate that. Right now, we're currently talking about beautiful women. Which country do you think have the most beautiful women? Which country do you think are the ugliest women? What makes Filipino women beautiful? So, I don't know. I don't know. I would like to know what Chasing tells us. Hello to everybody. I find it interesting. What is it that is so attractive about either the Philippines? So, and that's kind of my point. If you took the Philippines and you threw a bunch of American women in the Philippines, would you want to go to the Philippines? Well, of course not. None of us would. But let's say you took the Philippine country and you put a bunch of Canadian women. I don't know. This one doesn't work well. This scenario doesn't work well. So is it the draw to the Philippines? Is it the women or the country? And I think we stated earlier, it's clearly the women are a bonus. And as Henry said, but I actually go back and say the women are the draw. If you find the right spot in the Philippines, it's like living in paradise. It can be, depending on your definition of paradise. And I encourage expats to understand what is their version of paradise. And can that be achieved in the Philippines? A lot of guys like to sit around and absolutely do nothing in the Philippines, which is perfectly fine. That's their paradise. Other guys like to be in the city and on the go. And other guys like to travel the Philippines. When we went over to retire, part of why we went there to retire was because we'd actually planned, while my health was still fairly good, that we were going to go explore Asia and Australia. That was our goal, living in the Philippines, was we were going to have a home base, but we were going to go to Thailand, Japan, China, Malaysia, Australia, and take those type of trips based out of the Philippines to those different countries and enjoy those. Chasing Tail is doing the politically correct answer. Everyone has their own outlook on what's pretty or not. All countries have beautiful women in them. Man, that's such a good political correction. That's a good one, Chasing Tail. So that's what our plan was, because there's so many great places to travel. So if you're the type of guy, and I'm going to tell you this much, I learned because I'm old, is if you're going to do a lot of that traveling in Asian countries, especially the Philippines, because it can be rough walking, rough traveling, the roads can beat you to death, that you need to be in fairly good health. One of the mistakes we made was Joe says he's having problems with his connection, like he was in the Philippines. So, but one of the difficulties we had was we went over there at a time when my foot actually was in a boot. And that was not good timing from a health standpoint, because I had a difficulty walking, and there was so much physical walking that we had to do to get around, in and out of cars, small cars. So the boot couldn't fit a lot of places. So that was the difficulty we had. But Gentlemen, it's been an honor and privilege. We've been on here for 2 hours. We've been on here for 2 hours. I only do 2 hours and then I get off of here. But I thank you. I appreciate you guys being here. And I will be back again Wednesday, every Wednesday, 9 a.m., our time, U.S. Central Time. So come see us next week. Join us. We are happy to talk about and discuss anything that you guys have on your mind. Any questions, email me, message me. Let me know. I'll bring up the topic. I'll ask the hard questions. I will help you find answers to those questions. So, Ken, I appreciate you, my friend. Stay warm and stay out of the snow up there. So, guys, be safe and enjoy life.